there's that possibility. And personally, I just don't see the sense in injecting ink and other crap into my body that wasn't meant to be there in the first place. I'm not for augmentation or altering of body parts unless it's absolutely necessary. I just don't get it. So why risk the chance of getting a disease and getting an embarrassing tattoo that, you think is cool when you're 21, but when you're 31 or 41, are you going to look back on it the same way? Chances are you're not. I'm not the same man I'm now at 41 when I was 21, by any means. I'm a lot more jaded. I've had a lot more experiences in life. A lot of experiences I did not anticipate. That's just part of life. But if you want to get a tattoo, that's just not for me, okay? And I hope I've stated my position on this, but I'm sure I'm going to take a lot more heat on it, especially after this podcast gets published. But I want to get that off my mind, all right? On to more serious topics. Well, the House did it. They passed a bill last Friday, around the time we were listening on this program about, and they've passed a bill, basically a stopgap spending measure where they will continue to fund government operations through the end of the year, to get past the fiscal year hump, but have voted to defund the Affordable Care Act. Well, now the measure has gone its way to the Senate, where I don't think it stands much of a chance of getting passed in its current form, especially with the provisions to pull money out of the Affordable Care Act. It's a dirty tactic by our government, and namely by the GOP leadership. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out for the rest of the week, but I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more grandstanding, and I'm sure our good buddy Ted Cruz will do something stupid before the middle of the week. I can feel it coming. But it just bugs me, though, that people are still adamant against this, because they would rather... It goes along with what I'm going to talk about next, in that a problem that I see in our society is that people are more willing to listen to misinformation than they are to take a few extra minutes to research the truth. And it's never been easier to look for other ideas and ideals now than ever before. This generation of children doesn't know what it was like to be flat out ignorant, in that, like if you had a question, say, about a certain topic, you either had to go into an encyclopedia, or you went to an adult that probably knew the answer, or you had to go research it. It took a little longer to research. Now you can just pick up a smartphone, talk to it, and it'll look up the answer for you. So research is a hell of a lot easier now. But the problem is, there's also a lot of misinformation out there, and you've got to separate the wheat from the chaff, as it were, or shaft. And what bugs me is the internet had a lot of potential, but now with a lot of misinformation out there, it's harder to find the truth sometimes. The internet, to me, is an intellectual tool that got into the hands of amateurs, and now you've got all this bullshit information that you got to figure out what's true and what's not true. Okay? And Fox News is just as bad about it on their news, because they're not even calling it the Affordable Care Act, like I was telling you on Friday about the guy that went to, I think it was on Friday I talked about, Thursday or Friday, sometime last week, about the guy that went to the Kentucky State Fair a couple of months ago, went to the kiosk where they had information about the Affordable Care Act, and the people there were telling him all about it and how great it was, and he said, oh, hey, I like this, I want to sign up right now. But if you're not opposed to that Obamacare, it's the same damn thing. And then that's where Fox News really irritates me. And I know they're running a business. They have every right to run that business how they see fit. But to me, if you're going to call yourself a news organization, get off your political agenda, or say this is where we stand. But don't say that we're fair and balanced when you don't even call it the Affordable Care Act half the time. Because I've watched a lot of your evening news shows, and I tell you, very few of them even the ones I have somewhat respect for, don't call it the Affordable Care Act. Now, I'm sure there was office memos that you got to call it the Obamacare. I've worked in radio stations. I know what it's like. I know what it's like when the general manager comes into the news department and says, you got to do it this way, this way, this way. If not, you're going to be in my office. We're going to be talking about it. You know what we're going to be talking about? You getting canned. So, that's what bugs me about the internet, is that it has a wealth of information, but if people don't know how to question things and figure out, that your emotions are being manipulated, and if you lean that way, well, I can't do much for you in that regard. I lean to the left. I used to lean very far to the right, at least in certain regards, except when it came to dealing with people's liberties. I've always been middle of the road to the left on that one. But anyway, story I wanted to bring up, I found this in the local newspaper yesterday, the Kirksville Daily Express. It's a very good article. And my only gripe is the author did not identify himself or herself. But I'm going to read it to you anyway, okay? It's not very long, but I want you to listen to these words and reflect, okay? Facts just aren't made like they used to be. We have a growing national problem. We've been lazy for quite some time. There's a quote from the HBO series The Newsroom that says, people choose the facts that they want, and that sad trend is becoming more and more popular. The growing national problem is our laziness can be taken to new heights through the 140-character power of Twitter and the incredibly depressing trend of people believing anything and everything posted on Facebook. And I see a lot more and more of that among my circle of friends. For a long time, I was afraid of posting my true opinions on politics and religion. But over time, I came to realize that I was doing myself a disservice. Especially if someone had an opinion contrary to mine, or assumed that I was on the same side as they are. While our national debates on important topics can be condensed, spun, retweeted, and posted from the news sources we follow and like all in the palms of our hands, it does us no favors. It doesn't help the national debate on key topics. It simply confuses the issues. The example I'll use today is Obamacare. We're still fighting over it, and there are pieces of it we should be debating. But are we even debating actual facts? Let's discuss Walgreens. According to the Associated Press, the company next year will send its employees seeking health insurance into a private health insurance exchange. The company will continue paying the same amount it has toward its employees' health insurance coverage, while the private exchange will give employees an option to choose from as many as 25 different plans to suit their varying coverage and cost needs. Those are the facts of what has happened. Well, facts are very different in the Twitterverse. According to many, Walgreens was dropping health insurance for its employees because of Obamacare. John Nolte, a columnist for Breitbart, a conservative news and opinion site, had the most retweeted message regarding Walgreens and healthcare. 180K working class Walgreens employees just lost their health insurance or healthcare due to Obamacare, and the media doesn't give a damn. Same story, radically different interpretations. Perhaps no one did the story Nolte wanted because it didn't exist. But that actual fact could have been lost on more than 40,000 followers and those who were the recipients of the 88 initial retweets. If they're of the growing number who seem to digest news in nothing more than the 140-character burst, they came away believing, 1, Obamacare has cost hundreds of thousands their insurance, and 2, the media is covering this up. How can we even discuss Walgreens' move, whether it's good, bad, a sign of things to come, etc., when we can't even get an accurate presentation of simple facts? Our healthcare and health insurance systems are an absolute cost-crazy mess, And they, along with the Affordable Care Act, need to be opened up for honest and thorough debate. That can't and won't happen while people who are for it because they're Democrats or against it because they're Republicans are controlling the conversation. We need to stop, and we stop it by stopping ourselves from being lazy and easily conned by those who only give us the facts we want. And I've seen it happen among a lot of my friends and some of my family. As a matter of fact, I've been shunned by some of my own family because of my belief system. And Obamacare is one of them. That's one of the reasons why I have largely stayed quiet until recently. And I realized I was doing myself a disservice. My opinion is just as important and is as valid as theirs. We may not agree, but if they have to shun me, if that's the only way they know how to deal with me, that's their problem. And some of these people were ones I trusted implicitly. I'm not going to name names here, but I do want it stated that it bothers me, though, that there's a segment of society that feels like in order for there to be solidarity, you have to agree on everything we believe. Everything we believe in has to be the same. No, it doesn't. Part of what makes this country great is that such despairing opinions and attitudes can be embraced. For example, Chris Mayer is one of my dearest friends in the whole world. I love her with all my heart. She's the owner of Wishing Stars Native Creations. I'm not doing this for a cheap plug for her business, but it does help. But we are radically different when it comes to politics and religion. But yet we love one another and respect each other very much. And I admit at times she says things that make me cringe, and I'm sure I do the same to her. But there's still love there, a very strong bond, and I'm grateful for that. And I wish more people could embrace that ideal. Now I realize it's not always possible. But if this country is going to survive, we have to dig deeper for the story. We just can't go for the simplest explanation or what happens to corroborate with our ideology and our mindset. Because otherwise you're just sitting there soaking up a sermon, in my opinion. Well, maybe not the best example, but you're just there absorbing information. You're not questioning it. And one of the first lessons I learned in college was question everything. You have to be willing to throw away everything you've ever believed in, everything you have ever trusted. And I tell you, the first time I did that, it was such a liberating experience that it was almost like an out-of-body experience for me. That for the first time in my life, I let go of everything. I'm talking religion, politics, family, friends, and for just a moment, I stepped aside, and I began to see what was real and what wasn't. I wasn't always accurate, and I'm still learning that lesson, and it's been 23 years now. Okay? And oddly enough, I learned this in a religion class. But a lot of people think that religion is evangelism. They're not one and the same. Okay? My degree is in religious studies. Now, there are a lot of commonalities, and in my opinion, all religions have one thing in common. I'm right, you're wrong. There's always that interpretation. Okay? There's very little humility and humbleness in it. But, so that's where I stand in that regard. Okay? Let's see here. What other story did I want to read? I think that was pretty much it from yesterday's paper. Seemed like there was something else. Maybe it was in Friday's paper. Scrolling through the headlines here. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, but I definitely wanted to read that article because that one really... I was sitting in, I think, a Chinese restaurant when I read this on Saturday. I know it says Sunday's paper, but it was published late Saturday morning. And I tell you, I was like, yes, this is it. I've got to use this on my show. But that's what's on my mind for today. So we got a lot to get to